So many of the problems and stress that we experience in life can come from caring too much about what other people think and living for them rather than living for ourselves. This external awareness, this external focus is what brings us unhappiness, because really, happiness is an in here thing. It's not an out there thing. As you learn to build your own inner happiness, that is when things change. You can reach the inner peace that is so elusive to so many people. Think about when COVID happened. Most people went crazy because they were stuck with themselves and their own thoughts for so long. They didn't have that inner peace. That is something that you can build, but you can only build it intentionally, and you can only build it when you are purposefully wanting to shift what's going on in your inner world. And we can't do that if we are worried so much about what other people think, and we give them so much of our energy and our attention. So as you start to have a little bit more self-focus, that is when you can really change things. It's not selfish, it's just self-focused. Hey guys, look, my name is Andre, and I spent years trying to get on the other side of my negative rumination and my positive thinking that I was trying to shoot for, and stopped caring about what other people thought and worrying so much endlessly. It took me years to figure out the right tools and tactics for how to actually do it. But I got on the other side, and a lot of it came from my own inner work. So go ahead and like this video or drop a comment below and share with me where you're at in your journey. I would love to connect with you. So let's get into how we stop focusing on other people and start focusing on ourselves so we can shift this mental pattern that we have. A lot of us have of what I call a somatic mindset that is programmed for external focus and chaos. And that's something we can shift as you learn to be a little bit more self-focused. So let's look at why we get into the state where we're living externally focused lives and caring so much about what other people think and worrying about what they think and ruminating on what they think. A lot of it is because we are told who to be and how to be by society. And not just society itself, but by our family environment as well. Our parents, our coaches, our teachers, our friends even sometimes. Everyone tells us, at least when we're a child, right? They tell us who to be, what to do, how to do it, how to be. And all of that is programming us to be conditioned to be told what to do. And it tells our awareness to be focused on something outside of us, to receive information, to then act and to behave and think. When we're waiting for external information, we're not listening to ourselves. So that's one of the main ones. And then on top of that, that's like the first years of society, right? Or of life. And then on top of that, we start entering school, we start entering the business world or college or whatever it is, society as an adult. And especially in school, we get rewarded more and more and more for being smart and for being intellectual. And really what this does is it puts us in our heads. It makes us more focused on what we're thinking rather than what we're feeling. And it makes us seek external approval and validation. We want to get that A. We want to get 100% on whatever test, right? Why do you think a lot of C students or A students work for C students? Because the C students are like, man, I don't care. I want to do what I want to do. And then they start the business and they become the entrepreneur. And then the smart kids who did well in school get the job working for them. So all of that, what that comes down to is we learn how to follow the rules. And those of us who choose to actively follow the rules and want to follow the rules, we end up getting programmed even more so than the people who don't. The next one is a little bit deeper than that. Maybe one of the reasons why we follow the rules is because we don't know who we are. We aren't strong enough or sure enough in our own self-confidence, our own self-image, our own self, that we do things for other people instead. We follow their rules. We do what they say. Again, a lot of this comes from conditioning from childhood and the first years of life and family dynamics and everything. But if you know who you are and if you don't want to follow the rules, you're not going to follow the rules. If it actually matches your identity, then you won't. Some people drop out of school. I'm not saying drop out of school, but some people do. They don't follow the societal rules of you have to be in school, you have to do this, and you have to do that. Those of us that do, we get more programmed more easily. And another reason why we focus so much externally and on what other people think or say or whatever is that our hardware, our human body is biologically built to focus externally, right? It is built to see things outside of us, to hear things outside of us. Our five senses, they're all externally sensing. So no wonder we might not know who we are, or we might not turn inwards to reflect on ourselves or be a little bit more self-focused, because our senses are literally wired for the external world. and other things, and of course, other people. You might not know it yet, but your sixth sense is one of the most powerful things that you have. And that's your awareness. And you can turn that into yourself. And that is something you can build. I'll get into that a little bit later. But you can turn that awareness internally to help with that self-focus. And it changes everything, guys. All of these things that cause us to focus on other people and care about what they think builds over time our conditioning and our programming and what I call the somatic mindset. The somatic mindset, somatic meaning of the body, and mindset meaning your thought patterns. So it's your thought patterns driven by what's in your body, and your body is the thing that's conditioned and programmed. All of the little moments of stress and tension that we felt when we were told what to do or how to be, that got stored in the body, and it programmed us to keep acting in that way because we didn't know how to let it go at the time. All of that is stored physically in the body, in the soft tissues and everything. And that is the somatic mindset that drives us into these patterns of rumination and worry and caring about others and caring about what other people think, right? The negative side of that. All of this adds to the autopilot and to the mental noise and chatter and the rumination and the self-criticism, the self-judgment, and worrying about others and their thoughts, worrying about what other people might be thinking or saying or believing about us. It's all because of our programming. So the way out of this is to learn how to unprogram yourself, how to uncondition yourself. This was the question I tried to answer for years before I found anything that worked. The way out of this, guys, is to learn how to unprogram and reprogram yourself so that you uncondition the autopilot, you uncondition the autonomous thing that's driving all of the thoughts in your head, so that you stop the worrying, so that you stop caring about other people's opinions, and you build your own internal confidence and your own resilience so that you can live your life the way you want and not care about other people stopping you. If this is resonating, or if you have questions, or you're already on this journey and you want to dive deeper, let's talk about it. Find the link in the description below, book a call with me, and we'll get some time to chat just one-on-one, you and me, and we'll see what's needed for you to get to the next level of where you're trying to go. So like I said before, a lot of this comes from our childhood programming. And the root of this is that we really seek external validation as a kid, as a child. We want to be validated. We want to know that we're loved and approved of. And we seek this from our caregivers or from, our parents or our teachers or coaches or our older siblings also, right? It could be anyone who was around your environment when you were 0 to 3 to 5 years old. And seeking that validation, wanting to be validated, it should have just been given to you. You shouldn't have had to do anything to get validation. In a healthy house, love and praise and validation is dished out lavishly, and there's nothing conditional about it. There's nothing you have to do or say or not do or say in order to receive verbal approval, verbal validation of love. Those of us who grew up in households where that wasn't the case, where there was a condition, or where it just wasn't spoken. In my house, I never was told I love you. My parents never said it to each other. I never heard my parents say I love you to each other. So that created an environment where there wasn't always that lavish praise, that lavish love and affection being dished out. And so it programs you in a certain way. And one of the ways it programs you is to seek that validation and to seek that. And if you don't verbalize it, and if you're not always asking, which most of us don't, guess where it goes? It attaches to language and it comes up into the mind. And it comes up into the mind and we start worrying about what other people are thinking. And we start believing what we think other people believe. This was an interesting moment in my own journey. I realized that I believed what I thought other people thought about me. And so it's all a hallucination, right? I believed what I thought they thought about me because I don't know what they're thinking. It's mind reading. They talk about this in cognitive behavioral therapy. It's mind reading when you're assuming what someone else is thinking. And so when you're worrying about what someone else is thinking or you're seeking that validation from them, you are assuming in some ways that they're thinking something negative, and they might not be. Most of the time, they're probably not. So as we enter adulthood, we have these programs and these conditions with us, this conditioning with us. And it served us in the past, right? In some way, shape, or form, it helped us survive. It helped us keep ourselves mentally stable. It helped us understand the world around us to some degree. We wouldn't have it otherwise. It helped us in the past. And then we enter adulthood, and now it doesn't serve us anymore. But we still have it. And it's so deeply wired in. Like if this is you and your awareness, this is the you within your whole being, your soul, that level of conditioning is so close, it's hard to differentiate the two. You can, and this is what I teach my clients how to do. A lot of us can't differentiate the two. And so it just drives us all the time, and it becomes our autopilot, and it becomes our normal. As you learn to separate that, everything can change. But until you do, it drives your behavior and it drives your conscious mind because it's in the subconscious. And I think it was Carl Jung that said, until you take the subconscious and make it conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. So it served you in the past, but it doesn't serve you anymore. So learning to let go of it is one of the most powerful things you can do. Learning to let go of the conditioning, of the programming, of the energy that's driving the worry and the caring about what other people think. The more you can let that go, the better, because it doesn't serve us anymore. In fact, it holds us back. So what happens is as we enter adulthood and we still have these programs, it creates a lot of what's called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance basically means that you want two things that are opposing each other. You want autonomy and you want deep connection. You want to travel, but you also want friends that are consistent in your life. You want to have all of the money, but you also want to have all the time in the world to just, as an example, right? To just do nothing, right? Cognitive dissonance can drive us crazy because we're getting pulled, right? It's like we're in the middle of a tug of war, getting pulled in two directions at the same time, right? It's hard, and so we're stuck. We feel stuck in the middle, and we don't want to go this way because it means we don't get that thing, and we don't want to go that way because it means we're going to give up that thing, and so we're just like here. And in this case, it's like, I want to do what they're saying, or I want to make them happy, but it feels so unlike me. So I actually want to be more like me. But if I'm being more like me, they're not going to like it. And so there's this tug of war happening inside our own minds all the time in the subconscious at a level that most of us aren't aware of or conscious of. So as you bring that into your awareness, even as you become aware of it, being aware of it helps let it go. It's not enough, but it's a huge step forward. You want to become aware of any cognitive dissonances that you have, because it's going to drive you in this kind of back and forth, being stuck in limbo, and it can drive you crazy. Another way that this can manifest is in a hypervigilant nervous system where you're always on the lookout for what someone is saying, because if you got programmed to such a degree where you fear the consequence of doing even the littlest thing wrong, then if someone says something, it's going to hit you in a way, it's going to cause you to maybe panic or freak out a little bit. And so you're always aware. You're like a deer in headlights all the time, worrying about what's going to happen. And as you do that, it continues to program and it continues to reinforce what's going on there. And so that's another way that this can manifest. You're always alert for the littlest sign that maybe you did something wrong. And that keeps you so detail oriented on projections that are delusional because they don't actually exist. We don't know what someone else is thinking. But if you're focused on the little details, like I used to be, guys, I used to be this way. If you're focused on the littlest thing that someone might be thinking, and they're probably not, and you're doing that all the time with everybody, that's a lot of noise in your head. That is a lot of wasted energy, a lot of energy that could be used towards your mission, your purpose, your authentic self. That's what we want to get to. All of this programming and conditioning is held in what I call the somatic mindset. It's the body and it informs the mind. It informs the thoughts, the thought patterns that we have. Because all of the things that we experienced in our life add stress and tension into our body physically and into our system. And it's that stress and tension which causes a lot of these thought patterns to happen. That's where the conditioning is happening. That's where the programming is actually kind of coded and wired and stored. It's not just in the brain, it's also in the body because everything's connected. In Western society, we mostly believe that our brain runs the show. But there's more and more studies and science coming out that prove that the body is more involved than we think. We know that different postures can affect our mindsets and our psyches. We know that sometimes when we're in fear, we're going to act a certain way. Or if we're feeling shameful, we might hunch down and our shoulders kind of come up. Or if you're people pleasing, you're just smiling all the time and nod and smile and pretend that nothing's wrong and just say, I'm fine, right? The new F word, right? I'm fine. No, everything's fine. There's so much more going on under the hood, guys. And as you start to peel back the layers, that's where you can start to really shift things and really gain your power back to live the life that you want to live. But you have to start with turning your attention back to yourself and putting the focus on you and your inner world so that we can stop just shining these bright headlights of energy towards other people and what they think. That's all a delusion. That's all a hologram. It doesn't even exist. We don't know what they're thinking. So how do we actually do this? How do we start to finally shift? The first thing you got to do is start to realize that you are more than just your mind and that your body is involved, and to embody that knowingness and to feel it. It's something to experience. I have a video on YouTube titled Easy Meditation to Build the Mind-Body Connection. Find that video and watch it and use it multiple times, several times, multiple times a day if you want. Really start to build the connection back with your body and realize that you are not your mind. And you can start repeating this to yourself. I am not my mind. I am not my mind. To start building that separation so that you can start to observe what your mind is actually doing, because that is when we can start to poke in and start to shift things. It's at that point where we can drop into the somatic layer, the body layer, and start to work with the programming and the conditioning and all the energy that's held inside. That is where the real leverage lies in doing this work. So take time to build this with yourself and to be curious about yourself and say no to other people so that you can spend more time on your own. And this isn't selfish, guys. It's not selfish. You're just being more self-focused. And as you be more self-focused, you can start to question the decisions you've made. Are you being aligned and authentic to who you actually want to be? Or are you being somebody else because someone else told you to do it? Are you living somebody else's dream? We don't take the time to question that unless you finally take some time for yourself to be with yourself. So be a little bit more self-focused, because that is where we're going to really start to have the leverage to finally make the changes that are going to be more aligned with our authentic selves and who we're really meant to be in this world. It does take courage and it does take time, but you can do it. Once I started doing this, once I started asking myself questions and uncovering aspects of myself that I didn't like and uncovering aspects of myself that weren't me, but that were programmed and wired into me, and I started to let those go, that is when I finally started to shift. That is when things finally started aligning. And that is when things became a lot easier for me as well. I didn't have to worry so much about this or that because I just knew that things were aligning. I could see it in my life, in reality. Certain events would just happen. I didn't have to do anything. So it might be uncomfortable at first because coming back to ourselves, coming back to our authentic selves goes against what everyone else in this world has ever told us to do. And so we're undoing that programming, and it can be uncomfortable. But I promise you, being a little bit more self-focused is going to change your life. You just have to be willing to take these steps. And as you get into that, you start to bring the body into it. You start to build your somatic awareness and your interoception, your felt sense, as Peter Levine calls it. And that is where you have the power to really start to unprogram and rewire yourself pretty quickly. So go ahead and close your eyes for just a second. And I want you to visualize this. You wake up in the morning doing what you want to do. You know your day is planned out the way you want to have your day planned out. You're feeling confident because you're being your authentic self. You're not going to a job that you don't want to go to. You're not going to work that you don't love. You're being who you want to be. You're having the impact that you want to have on the world. You know that no one can say anything to change how you feel. You know that happiness is an inside job. You know that you have the tools and you have the power to make yourself feel worse if you want to, or better, but you don't allow other people to make that happen for you. You are a master of your emotions. You are the captain of your soul. Imagine how that would feel. Very different than how most people live these days, but that's what's possible. It just takes a little bit more self-focus. And as you do that, you stop caring about what other people think. And that is when you start to build your life the way you want to and build your own happiness. And when you do that, you inspire others to do the same. So what are we waiting for, guys? Think about one area of your life that you've been living for someone else. Go ahead and journal on that tonight, or even better yet, drop it in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next video.